Wow, we've burned a lot of time on the news. We had a lot of news to cover.
Oh, wait, we need to talk more about the doctor.
No.
Run out that fucking clock.
Again, I'm going to be out at San Diego Comic-Con next weekend. If you're going to be out there, send me a tweet. Let me know. I'd be happy to say hi. In fact, on Checkpoint Radio, we've got a pretty awesome giveaway that's going to be going. We've got last chance passes, 10 pairs of passes to San Diego Comic-Con that we're going to be giving away. Details of that are going to be posted soon over at Facebook.com/CheckPTRadio and at CheckPTRadio on Twitter. All right, so make sure that you go and you follow,
favorite, subscribe,
whatever,
thumbs up,
whatever
comment.
whatever you got to do. God damn, the power is really bad today. Whatever you got to do, make sure that you do that. If you want a chance at a pair of passes to go to San Diego Comic-Con, so that's exciting. Big, huge shout out to Kooky. Thank you so much. She was the one who put this whole thing together.
Happen.
Yeah, and we're super excited to be able to give those away to our listeners. So again, if you haven't already, go make sure that you follow Check PT Radio on Facebook and Twitter, because we've got details of that contest that are coming soon. All right, so let's talk about television, because this week, man,
it's a good week, man.
It is.
It's a great Sunday. Like, I know we're gonna go do a raid after, but there's got to be some timeliness there because we got shows to watch tonight.
Fuck you, DVR it.
Yeah, well, hang on. My question is, do you guys watch this live or do you time shift?
I watch it live.
I mean, there's no reason to time shift Game of Thrones where there's no commercials. So
yeah,
why wouldn't you watch that live?
Well,
because we don't have TV.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
You pay for your HBO?
We paid for a year of HBO and still have it, so I don't know.
How quaint. He said.
So if you're like me, I'm watching HBO and Showtime through Hulu. Which Hulu is offering, these premium subscription packages. I think HBO.
They just picked up all the HBO Go stuff too.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a place to be able to watch all of that, that's a good place. So yeah, with the return of Game of Thrones, which is exciting TV for all of us. There's not a single person in this room who isn't excited for Game of Thrones.
I don't like it.
Get out.
Why?
Is it going to feature Bran?
He's gonna be in it, I'm sure.
I think so.
That's why I don't like it. Because he sucks.
But
now
hold on.
he doesn't even have Hodor anymore.
With the way that they're doing episodes now, hopefully we won't get a little bit of him in all of the episodes. There'll just be one episode that you can just ignore.
Yeah, and well, I mean, isn't Bran gonna end up being kind of the bad guy in all this? So you're gonna get to see him.
What?
Well, he's the one who's gonna make the wall fall.
What?
What?
The wall is protected by the wall is protected by the magic that he breaks when he touches things. And when he passes through it, he's gonna break it.
What are you doing?
Spoilers.
No
That's
spoilers.
not-
This is a
We learned this at the end of last
It's
season.
all a theory.
What are you talking about? Spoilers?
There's no
broke
spoilers because the
something?
books have now caught up.
Oh
to
my
the show.
God.
What?
That is all contextual through the fucking show. All of that is contextual through the show.
I mean, I understand he breaks things because he's a terrible person, but I know that he had magical breaks.
Yeah, that's why the Night King was able to go and attack them when they were at the Three-Eyed Raven's place, because he broke the seal on it because he's an idiot.
God damn it, Bron!
And he's gonna
He just
destroy
broke
the
it
wall
by-
too,
Why does he break things when he touches them?
because he's got that curse from the Night King on him.
How did he get that curse?
Well, but then there's the whole theory on whether or not he's actually Bran the Builder.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that theory. I know that one.
Which I hope
He fucked everyone up by making the Mad King mad.
that's
I like that theory.
That's a theory too.
That's a theory, yeah.
Yep.
I like that theory.
And that is supported through a whole lot of context through the show, through what he was able to do with Hodor, right?
Yep.
You know, and the whole
When he's able
hold
to
the
take
door.
control of his mind, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also going back and seeing the birth of Jon Snow.
Yep.
So, like, we do know that he has that ability. We also have seen artwork of Bran the Builder, which is told in stories to Brandon as like after he lost the ability to walk by old Nan. Well, I think that was the name of the character.
The grandma.
Yeah, the old woman who eventually gets killed. But
Spoilers.
Like everyone in the show.
if you remember from
dies.
some of the bonus DVD features that we were watching about this time last year, there's one picture of Bran the Builder that shows him helping to build the wall, but he's sitting on and being carried by people like as if he couldn't walk, like he's sitting on a platform as if he couldn't walk. So there is, I think but he's shown to be a lot older. So like there's a lot of questions around exactly who Bran the Builder is, because Bran the Builder was also this figure that showed up in multiple places at multiple times, like at the same, like
that
in
might
the
have
same
something to do with his
period.
power, because
exactly.
if he goes in the future, then goes back, and then goes in the future, then goes back. Like he's going to be in multiple places.
Yeah, because literally almost everything important was made by him. Like the Great Castle of in Winterfell, like almost the whole of Winterfell was designed by Bran the Builder, with like the crazy like steam piping and everything. Like
Couldn't
that
it
exists
easily
there.
have been like Bran trying to fix something
That
by
he's
like
fucked
growing
up?
older and then going back and fixing things he's fucked up?
But
and
that's-
now he's in multiple places in
Right.
history.
Well,
See, this is why I don't like Bran. He fucks everything up.
He's the Flash of Game of Thrones.
dun dun dun.
Branny Allen.
Okay, so I think
Brand point.
God. I think that's one of the plot points that I think we're all excited to see pick back up. What are some of the other ones that you're hoping to see?
Cersei's gonna get off.
I'm glad.
Cersei, I think Cersei is truly
She's
fucked.
got a very short window this
She is
season.
fucked.
I think she's gone by
Oh,
episode 2.
I think she's dead soon.
I mean, outside of the internal strife that she's sown for herself, she's got problems from the north, she's got problems from the south, and both are very quickly going to start encroaching on her.
Literally,
Definitely got
Jon
problems
Snow.
with Jamie too.
Yeah, literally, Jon Snow has reunited the North, so they're going to be pissed at her. You got the Dorne army has allied with the Greyjoy army and the Khaleesi's, her whole thing army,
Yes,
Right.
with 3
thank you.
dragons all showing up.
The fact that Daenerys is finally joining the story instead of overdoing her own
That's
fucking
true.
thing.
Yeah, that it should concentrate mostly on Westeros.
Yes.
It is. I can't remember. I wanted to do a season 6 rewatch real quick before we did the show, but I didn't get a chance to.
You have time.
No. Arya. Where Arya? Arya. Where's Arya?
She is on her way back to the North.
On her way.
She just
She
left
just murdered people.
Yeah,
Right.
she just left the Freylands.
She just survived the
Yep.
murder attempt on her. Right.
Well, she did, but no, she got
put
back
on a
to
face and
Westeros.
murdered other people.
Yeah, she
That's
went-
right. That's right. She murdered
she
the
pied people.
pie people.
Lord
Yeah,
Frey.
Right.
Yeah,
I remember
Frey.
that. Yeah.
Apparently, we might see Nymeria come back this season.
I hope so.
Her dog, who ran away at the
Right,
first, yeah, her
right.
Nymeria,
Dire
her
Wolf.
her
Thank
dire
you
wolf.
very much.
And if it's anything like the books, it's going to be great, because in the books, Nymeria now leads a pack of wolves that only eat Freys. That's all
Yeah.
they do is meander around the Freylands and eat Freys.
That is awesome.
I'm all about that Frey life.
I don't like. There's a lot
Seems
of
like their hold on the land is fraying quickly.
boo.
I'd say it's about gone.
Boo. Oh my God, you're terrible.
And yeah, Jamie's probably going to be none too happy with Cersei either.
Oh, yeah.
when he, now that he's shown back up and all their
why?
children are dead, so...
And it's
Well,
all
it's not her
through
fault.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
one
her
of them is
fault that
directly her
youngest
fault.
son killed himself.
That's not her fault. That was
She
his
killed
choice.
his wife. No, he had nothing to live for at that point, and she knew that.
Okay, this is Game of Thrones. Where
She knew he was going to do that because she wanted the throne in the first place, whether or not she wanted to admit it to herself or not. She knew somewhere inside that was going to happen.
Okay,
She's
she
also-
didn't want to kill her son for it.
Are you sure about that?
I mean, I don't know.
That's the only people she
she
cares about
wanted
is
to
her
kill him
family.
in a way that doesn't seem like it's her fault.
Intentional or not, she is the cause of all their deaths. Because she's also the one who sent her daughter to the Dornlands originally, too. That was what led to her death.
No.
yeah, she did. Yeah,
That
she
was
did.
that was little
That was
little guy
Tyrion when he was trying to figure out who was in Cersei's pockets. Remember,
Yeah.
he had promised her off to 3 different
no,
people.
she didn't. Cersei didn't want to send her away.
Yeah,
She was heartbroken about that.
yeah, because Jamie went to bring her back.
Right. I
Right.
remember that.
Right.
Literally, the only people
Mar-
that Cersei ever cares about is her
Is
children.
her children, yeah. How did
But she did. Didn't she send one of her kids away to protect him? It was. I thought it was one of the younger.
I thought she sent the daughter away to protect her.
No, I don't
No,
think
that.
Cersei
No,
didn't
you're
want
right.
to
That
send
was
her away.
Tyrion. Yeah.
Okay, that was Tyrion?
Yeah.
And Tyrion offed Joffrey. Or no, Lady of
No,
Roses.
Littlefinger.
Martell did it.
No,
didn't
Lady
she?
Martell.
Yeah, Lady Martell off.
Oh yeah. That's
Joffrey.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh,
She did.
yeah.
There's so many fucking characters.
Let me
Oh,
get your
man.
guys' take on something, because this is one of the things that in the back of my head I've been wondering for a while, because at the end of the season I feel like it doesn't truly explain it. But okay, so we're gonna talk about Sansa for a minute, everyone's favorite.
Boo. Who? No.
Yeah. So when Jon Snow, when they're all like, all right, he's king of the North now, and it's very obvious that, hey, look, they're all pledging their loyalty to him. She gives this look to Littlefinger, right?
Right.
What do you think that look is?
Come hither.
Because earlier in that
No.
episode, he tells her, like he's trying to basically say, look, he's a bastard. They're not going to follow him. They're going to follow you. I can help you. Blah 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 blah.
No, it was a stick to him. I think. Like, aha, see, this can't happen.
Okay, see, that's
Yeah.
what I thought, but I remember there being an interview with her actress that I read, and the way that she talked about that moment was like she feels slighted by the fact that even though she saved him
at
with the
the battle.
army,
Yeah.
that now she feels slighted.
I have heard that as well.
Really? 'Cause
Yeah.
I always thought it was more like she was going to stand behind John and she was
that
sticking it to
makes
Littlefinger.
so much sense because
but
she
that's-
hasn't done shit this entire fucking show, and she doesn't deserve to be in charge.
I think
She
actually.
saved him
Well, yeah.
Did
it-
she
it-
by
well,
withholding information?
because he wasn't listening to her.
I mean, that's
He was
that's fair.
mansplaining to her.
I mean, bringing in the Knights of the Vale was pretty clutch. I mean, that was the only thing that
Yeah,
that saved
saved
his
him.
bacon at
Yeah.
that point. So, I think that she probably does deserve credit for that, but I think it would be I think it would be really dumb and infuriating. I mean, like, most fans of the show will really turn on Sansa if she thinks she deserves credit for that.
Sansa has been used and abused by just about everyone she's with on this show. I don't think there's any way she suffers Littlefinger trying to control her now.
Yeah, that's the thing is
I don't think that's happening.
like and
That whole the whole ending of the last season with her feeding Ramsay to his dogs, that was supposed to be her like, fuck
Right.
you, I do things for myself
especially like, honestly, because she rejected Littlefinger's advances. Like, if she was like wanting to get in with him, or I don't see.
She would have by now. I feel
Yeah,
like.
I don't see the motivation for her to go with Littlefinger unless, like you're saying, she thinks that she's been slighted by Jon. But that is so fucking
but
stupid, given the
I don't
other
think she would
abuses
feel
that
that.
she's the other direct abuses that she's suffered.
agree.
Especially like
Up to
maybe
this.
somewhere deep down she might feel that a tiny bit, but like
Yeah.
Sansa's loyalties have always been to her family and she's always liked John. So I don't
let's-
think that that's something that
Ooh, money. Thank you.
Thank you
for the bits.
Appreciate it.
Sweet, 100 bits.
I was like, I didn't hear a message there.
No message.
No, there was no message. But yeah, like, that's the thing is that, like, she's suffered the injustices of Joffrey. She suffered the injustices of
Ramsay.
Exactly. Like, after coming out of those two situations, you like to murder someone who is actually of your own blood, or to turn on them, or to try to usurp their power that they've clearly been
That's
given.
a seriously type shit, and I don't see Sansa being that.
After
It could be
all
like
of that
a-
character development, no, because like, there's just no way. I don't see it.
And
man.
look, I hope it isn't, because I actually want to see all the Starks band together now. But it could be like one of those like last straw type stuff. Because you're right, this is nothing compared to what she's been through
Sansa
so
never
far.
really wanted to be the leader before. Like, even when she was like with Joffrey, she cared more about being with Joffrey than really being like queen of anything.
She wanted to live in
Well, yeah, that was
She didn't
before.
want
all
to
this
yeah,
shit.
pretty much-
fancy. Like, she didn't care that much about actually power or ruling. So I don't see that character.
People change.
Yeah, people
After-
change after,
after-
all your family is slaughtered.
Well, yeah.
mean-
After he killed Ned, it was more about survival.
yeah, yeah.
And all throughout Ramsay, it was all about survival. But again, who put her in the position to be taken advantage of by Ramsay?
Littlefinger.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's why.
If she
I'm
does
pretty
any
sure she hates
Makes
him.
no character fucking sense for her to do that.
if she does any type of siding with Littlefinger, I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, please help me. I think she's finally gonna sort of take her place and use him.
Yes.
And do like a complete role reversal to where
I would
he
love to see
is
that.
now her bitch.
That's what I see. Like, when she gave him that look, it might be her saying like, you know what, this person has betrayed me, but I can use him. We are gonna still want the Knights of the Vale at some
maybe
point.
she thinks she has
still trying to like get her to his side, so she could easily play along. And
yeah, I think she thinks that she has one up over Littlefinger finally. That's what I think that is.
Here's my problem with everything is that if she thinks that she can one up Littlefinger, who's been like the mastermind schemer behind like basically lots and lots of things,
You don't- but she doesn't-
He's always one step
She
ahead
doesn't
of
know that
everybody.
behind
you
everything.
you know that, Chris. You
Yeah.
know that.
Oh, okay.
She does not know that. Remember that. You know that as a member of the audience. She as a character has no concept beyond their direct dealings with one another how connected or how corrupt Littlefinger actually is.
I hope she doesn't try to one up him because he's always 10 steps ahead of everybody.
That's I think
But I feel like
if
with how desperately he was going after Sansa in this instance, though, I feel like he might not have a leg up in this particular battle.
He's running out of cards up his sleeve.
I think you're both right, but I think that if Sansa or Jon Snow underestimate Littlefinger even a little bit, that it's really not going to turn out well, because that's the thing, is that he's been on his back before, man. Like, I feel like he's been in this position more than a few times where he's had irons in the fire that haven't panned out, but what he's best at is getting out with his skin intact. That's what he's always best at.
And then Littlefinger.
And he starts with nothing again and builds it back up.
Him and Varys are the MVPs.
Yeah. Well, and Varys has a very sort of similar, path through society where
Yeah, but
it feels
Varys
like
can teleport.
Well,
I mean, that's just an advantage that you have.
Yeah, don't even. Now we're getting into tinfoil hat territory. But Varys does have a very similar story, coming from nothing, building to everything, and I think anyone who kind of comes from that has a better appreciation of being able to claim that sort of place in society, and not just that, but also what to do if it all gets taken away. Like they're way more adept than any fucking Lannister is if they get everything taken from them, right? Like if it was Littlefinger or if it was Varys in any of those dungeon cells, they would have found a way out. They always seem to.
By all reports too, Euron Greyjoy is going to be brutal.
Who?
The
brother of
the guy who
the chick?
No.
The guy who
The
runs
uncle
the
who
uncle.
randomly showed up and was like, "I'm king now." Bye.
that guy. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
so you know, I'm king now, and they're like, "Cool, we're taking your boats."
Yeah, like that shit is apparently supposed to get fucking crazy.
Yeah, he's supposed the actor was talking about it, and he's just like, "This is a character unlike any I've ever played. This guy is fucking nuts."
My favorite battle moment in all of Game of Thrones is still the battle on Black Bay, with the wildfire and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That was cool.
a good
Tyrion's
one.
battle.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
So lots to be excited about for Game of Thrones. But I also wanted to take an opportunity to talk about another show that really sort of paved the way for all of modern television. And this is, I'm of course talking about Twin Peaks. This is probably one of my favorite shows ever in history. I first watched it when I was going through college. One of our friends, Dave Bailey, showed it to me, which makes sense.
doesn't
Of course,
surprise me.
Dave
Right?
Bailey would have watched that show.
Exactly. Right? Like it absolutely makes sense if you knew Dave Bailey at all.
You guys don't.
No, you don't. You
Why-
don't.
why
But
we talking
everyone
about
in this
this?
room, except you, everyone in this room does. But one of my all-time favorite movies, and David Lynch is one of my all-time favorite directors. And so this was a show that started in 1989 on ABC. It ran for 2 seasons. I think it had 18 episodes.
Even on ABC, huh?
18 episodes in its initial run. Well, this is a show that changed television forever. Television was changed like forever after this point. So just a little bit of background info as our lights continue to flicker, which is appropriate since we're talking about David Lynch. If you don't know who David Lynch is, so Twin Peaks was by David Lynch and Mark Frost. So David Lynch was is a surrealist artist and filmmaker. He's made films like Eraserhead, The Elephant Man, Dune, Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, Mulholland Drive, The Straight Story, and Inland Empire.
That spice, whoever controls the spice, that's David Lynch?
Yes. That's David Lynch. Yeah.
Now I know why I don't like David Lynch.
And the main guy from it too, Kyle MacLachlan.
No, I never watched Dune, but I know all about it because I'm getting this.
And you get that too.
Okay.
That's his.
That's mine.
It's his? Okay.
Where were you going?
I was gonna go fill it up for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you needed. Okay.
You've actually watched this terrible show. You say.
Watch is a strong word.
Fucking. Why do I ask him to do anything ever?
I don't
Like,
know.
why do
Well,
I
We're
ever?
still wondering that.
Wait. Let's be fair here. Nika, did you watch the pilot?
No.
Fuck you too.
God damn it, Nika.
I'm not interested in this show.
Look,
I
she's
don't know.
busy. Okay,
It's an
She
hour
has-
and a half of your time to have context about a conversation on a show that
Not to mention, you
we
can do what
pay
I
you
did.
for.
You can do other stuff while you watch it.
Yeah, for crying out loud. Yeah, like, it's not like it's a fucking anime
I
that has
also-
subtitles that you have to read the whole fucking time.
I also might have totally missed this conversation and not realized I was supposed to watch it. So
That doesn't surprise me at all.
God damn it, Nika.
sorry.
This is not that fucking hard.
She's programming the shows next week, everyone, so look forward to that.
Yep. The show. One show.
Anyway, Twin Peaks.
So I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan of David Lynch. Love his movies. And so he signed on to this project with ABC just after Blue Velvet. And so Lynch and Frost had actually shopped a project together called Goddess, which was about the death of Marilyn Monroe. And that was sort of like, and it didn't go anywhere, but that was sort of like the genesis of the idea that ended up becoming Twin Peaks. Mark Frost is an author, and he's also a television and filmmaker. He had just come off of Hill Street Blues, so he had like an incredibly popular TV run. He had also made another show called American Chronicles, and he was the author of The List of Seven and The Six Messiahs, which were both, I guess, huge books. So the reason that Twin Peaks is kind of culturally and historically important is because it was a show that sort of pushed expectations, and not only like pushed expectations, but also commented on other TV that was happening around it. So it like, I think if you wanted to trace back the lineage of a lot of huge shows that have like a mystery at their center, like Lost, right? Or Carnival or Fringe.
Or shows that actually had overarching stories and weren't just like
Fringe is my favorite
self-contained
show ever.
every episode.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate that about TV.
Well, and you got to think about what TV was like before this, right?
That's fair.
Like you had a huge abundance of shows that were wrapped up in 30 minutes. They had a single storyline, or maybe it was if you're lucky, it was like a 2-part special. And
Yeah.
Twin Peaks was one of those that started with a mystery, and it kept that mystery going. And they even had a lot of pressure from ABC to solve the mystery. So the central mystery of the entire show, it starts off with the murder of a high school girl named
Homecoming Queen.
Yeah, Homecoming Queen, and her name's Laura Palmer. And so that, like, if you watch interviews with David Lynch, he's like, that was the central mystery that the show was built around, and every other mystery was sort of like a branch on a tree, and the trunk was the Laura Palmer mystery. And it was never, when he made it, like when he came up with the idea of that concept, it was never supposed to be solved. It was supposed to be a permanent MacGuffin for the show. And so, and despite pressure from the studio, he kept that mystery going for quite a long time.
Did they ever solve
They
it?
do solve it.
Okay.
And
So he couldn't stick to his guns.
well, I mean, again, think about it. For a show of that time to create week over week the demand for the viewer to tune in week to week, that was a big ask. Like
Back then, yeah.
especially because you had to make time, right? Like you had to make time out of the VCRs.
You weren't DVRing it.
Yeah, DVRs weren't huge. VCRs.
If you missed it, you were fucked.
This is 1989. VCRs were actually still quite expensive. So yeah, if you missed it, yeah, you were kind of fucked. And this was the biggest show in America in 1989. The biggest fucking show. And again, when David Lynch and Mark Frost made it, they had no idea what kind of cultural phenomenon they were making. They just made something that they thought was fun and quirky and a direction that television should be going in, but they didn't really have a plan. It was sort of like they put it out there and then they were like, oh shit, people really
It's
like
happening.
it. Yeah, and then they had to they had to go back and start making more episodes and writing more stuff. And so, a lot of the show feels very cobbled together, right? Like made up, kind of made up at the last minute, and
That makes a little bit some sense.
that's because it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of the very first shows that had a production like that. Like there were like general ideas that were mapped out, right? And the like the bits in between were kind of made up as they went along. Here's a great example, right? And I'm sure our lights will flicker while I'm telling the story, and that's appropriate because there's a scene in the movie, right? The movie's called Fire Walk with Me. And by the way, while I'm here, don't watch the movie until after you've seen the first 2 seasons. So it is a prequel, but it spoils the central mystery, right? So you don't want to.
So I should finish season 2 before I watch that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, without a doubt. But there's one scene in there, a very specific scene. It happens between the Man from Another Place, which is the backwards talking dancing midget.
Yep, that was weird.
And Bob, who is defined a little bit more clearly as the show goes on.
Okay.
But he is the killer that they're searching for, probably where you're at right now. So the specific scene that takes place while it was being filmed, there was like maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10 lines of dialogue that were supposed to be spoken. And when they had to light the scene, they had to use a generator to do it. And the generator kept blowing. Like they tried to record the scene maybe 4 or 5 times and the generator kept blowing.
Wow.
And he switched a line of dialogue and they did the scene again. The generator didn't blow. And what David Lynch said was, I thought that was it. Right? Like like when I say it was made up, like it was very much like in the moment, if something felt right, they went with it. It was that kind of like creative thing, but at the same time also building towards a central mystery.
That's like, as I've watched this show, I see like Agent Cooper, right? Mm-hmm. And he's kind of quirky, I think is a generous way of describing it. And like, I feel like this world is built for him because anything he says comes true. Like, it's almost like the world goes out of its way to accommodate the things that he says.
Well, it's interesting. I'm really looking forward for you to get to season 3 because there's a lot of really interesting character development that Cooper ends up having that I'm going to be interested on.
Only 2 seasons. How is there a season 3?
Okay, so there was the 2 seasons that aired between 1989 and 1990. There was the film that came out, and I want to say it was like 92 or 93, and then there was basically a 25-year gap. And Showtime picked up the series again, and new episodes started being aired. I think we're 10 episodes deep now.
They Doctor Who'd it. They're bringing it
season
back.
3, or
Yeah, that's season 3.
It's not a reboot. It's a sequel. It's a
continuation.
It's a continuation. Now, here's the really
And
interesting.
it was from 90 to 91, not 89 to 90.
Sorry, 90 to 91. Here's the really interesting part, is that at the end of the second season, one of the characters says, there's a line in there that says, "See you again in 25 years."
Wait, really?
Yes. So
They did that on purpose?
Like, okay, so what they've said, because there have been a lot of questions asked, obviously, about Mark Frost and David Lynch about that line specifically, and they said that they kind of threw it in there as like, oh, wouldn't that be funny if after 25 years we brought it back? And then once conversations got really serious, David was like, I've got to find a way back into the world. And of course, that was the line that did it. Like, that was what allowed him to be able to feel like it was appropriate to go back. One of the things about
That's
David...
kind of fun.
Well, one of the things about David Lynch is that he's very much a guy who works off of, like, feel, right? Like, he's an artist. He is, at his core, I would say that he's more a painter an actual visual artist than he is a filmmaker. He's more widely known in pop culture for his films, but I think his body of work around photography and painting is way deeper than his filmography is. So, you've got to understand that this guy is an abstract artist by his nature. And when Showtime had originally approached David and Mark about doing the series again, they originally had agreed to 9 episodes until David walked away, had publicly said that I'm walking away from the project, and then Showtime threw another 9 episodes on top of it.
Wow, almost doubled it.
And so, like, if he feels like it's something that he doesn't want to do, or that there's no...
If he can't do it correctly?
If he can't do it correctly, he's talked a long time about, like, the reason that Dune was such a problematic movie for him was that he didn't get final cut. And so after that, that's always been one of the big things that he's needed. But he's definitely one of those who's, like, not afraid to walk away from a paycheck because there's something, it may be even something small that he doesn't agree with. And the fact that they were able to get him behind it, and to get him to direct all 18 episodes, because he didn't even direct all of the first 2 seasons. Like, he would hand off his direction to other people. But the fact that he's directing all 18 episodes of the new season is super awesome and exciting.
It's really unheard of in, like, TV.
It is. It's very unique. It's very unique. But yeah, the fact that you could even look at, like, oh, this may have even been somewhat planned or conceived a long time ago. It's really remarkable what this show has done in terms of pop culture. And I mean, this was also the first show that really started mixing a lot of different genres together, because the first time you see it, you're like, oh, this is a cheesy soap opera.
It's a soap opera, yeah.
But it's also
it starts out like a Who's Done It type show.
But it's also a murder mystery and a police procedural. There's like really serious elements of comedy and slapstick that are thrown in there. At points, like at some very specific points, it goes into horror territories. Like, I mean,
whenever Laura's mother is on the screen, you want to slash your wrists.
Oh my God, dude! Yeah, Grace Zabrowski is the name of that actress, and she is amazing. And it also has this noir feel to it that David Lynch has kind of worked into a lot of his movies for a long time. And so when you kind of package all of those elements together, it really ends up making something that in 1990 really stood out from everything else. Again, think of the shows that were on around 1990-91. You've got things like 90210 and Melrose Place that were steeped in melodrama, but all of those beats were really predictable. You had, very cheesy daytime soap opera television that people would watch in fucking truckloads.
And you see it all here. Like when the guy gets his parole.
Yes.
Yeah. What's his name?
Hank.
Hank, thank you. He gets his parole and he comes back, and immediately he's kind of like back to doing like criminal stuff, and he's like showing up in the background with like now interacting with all these characters. I'm like, this is straight out of a soap opera.
It is. And they took a lot of the conventions that existed around television of the time. That's why when you watch it, it does, the original 2 seasons feel very dated. They do feel very much like an anachronism. They're stuck in a time period.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. Like, I actually like that. I really like that. It was a big appeal for me. And the music. Oh my God, the fucking music.
So here's the thing about the music. The main Twin Peaks theme, like, the main score that they use.
Yes.
They will use that same score no matter what the mood of the scene is, and it drives me fucking nuts. They play that music when we've got the woman weeping over her daughter being dead, and then they use it again when a guy is confessing his love to a girl. I'm like, they don't care. They just use that music as often as possible.
I think it actually speaks to how versatile that music is. Like, there's a lot of overlapping themes that end up going on in the original run.
I feel like David Lynch saw the very final scene of Friday the 13th, where the girl wakes up on like the boat, and just like he's like, oh, I like the score. I'm constantly waiting for Jason to like pop out somewhere.
The other thing about this was that it was among one of the first multimedia shows where it wasn't just confined to, like, if you wanted the full story, right? you didn't just have to watch every episode of the TV show.
The first expanded universe.
There were also books. There was an audio book. Like it leaked into other forms of media and was so pervasive that, and was so hot originally that it justified it, right? Like it was able to do that.
And what's the shows nowadays that try to force it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like they're doing that again in really creative ways. Like one of the most recent episodes, one of the episodes that aired, I think this was last week. There was this confession from Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lillard is actually in the new run and has some really fantastic scenes. But he's working through a confession in this scene, and it's very intense, and they talk about him running a blog, and the blog actually fucking exists, like, right? Like, and so you watch the episode, and then you spend the next 2 days reading through the fucking blog. It's fascinating. Like, I love when TV shows do this, and this was really the first TV show that took and stretched itself beyond the bounds of just the TV show, and really expanded the lore.
Was this in 1990?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
1990.
Well, yeah.
So you like the show because it's the first iteration of an ARG.
No, I actually, some of the side content I haven't really discovered until recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It probably
I've
does
read it
explain
also-
some of his love for ARGs.
Well, yeah, I mean, like it does, like anything that does that, I think is always really fun and impressive. So
I mean,
Has
you
this
like
show- has
ARGs,
this-
Juxta, Overwatch. Everything that they do for like the new characters and lore and levels and stuff is all ARG.
Oh, well, I guess if you're talking beyond Sombra stuff, then yeah, it's all right.
Sorry, Nika, go ahead.
Has this Twin Peaks festival then been going on for 25 years annually, or did
no,
that take a break too?
I want to say that it probably started after the series stopped, because I mean, like, generally to get a fan festival like that going, you know what I mean, it takes some time.
But it was going annually for a while when the show was not even ever.
Yeah, when it was not on the air, right? Yeah. So you had people that were getting together and talking about their love of cherry pie and coffee, and visiting the R&R diner, and
It's just funny 'cause
probably
when it
making
had
up
2
crazy
seasons and a
theories.
movie, and then everyone's like, "Oh, it's so awesome! Let's have this festival," even though the show is off the air.
Okay,
now. It's just,
but the thing you have to remember when it comes to weird shows like this or Legion or American Gods is because this stuff is so fucking weird and it's not something that's obviously readily explained to you,
Right.
that for years and years and years and years afterwards, people are always
they're going to
coming
be
up
theorizing
with
it.
more
Yeah.
theories.
and it's fun to meet and talk with people about that stuff.
And the cool thing is because and I don't feel bad about kind of spoiling this, because it's just a very kind of broad stroke spoiler, and you'd get to start season 3 almost immediately, so it's not that much of a spoiler. But season 2 ends on one of the biggest cliffhangers ever in television, ever. Ever in television.
really?
Oh,
Yes,
great.
ever in television. And so, yeah, this was a show that really did lend itself to theorizing. And, one of the things that David Lynch had stated around the time that he did the first movie was that there were supposed to be 2 other movies. And the movie critically and commercially tanked. It's been described both as one of the worst movies ever made and one of the worst David Lynch movies ever made, which I completely disagree with. I actually think it's the best David Lynch movie
Had
ever.
you got another movie, it probably would have just been another cliffhanger.
Maybe. I mean, I think he would have wanted to work through all 3 movies, but
I had a show that did that.
It does feel like, now this 3rd season is going, that he's following what he wanted to do. Like, that, he's really meaningfully kind of continuing on the show, and in a way that no one really expects either. Like, I feel like there are TV shows where you can kind of predict like what the arc is going to be, maybe a quarter or midway through it. I don't know.
TV.
I don't know what the fuck to expect tonight when I tune in. I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, like season 1's cliffhanger, I thought was really good. Like it was enough that I immediately turned on the first episode of season 2 to find out what happened.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you to figure out where you're going to watch season 3 now, because when you get to the end of season 2, and then after you watch the movie, you're going to be like, I need to start this shit now.
So what you're saying is, if I'm coming up on the end of my night, stop on the episode before the last of season 2. Don't watch the last episode of season 2. until I have more time.
There is a marked departure between the second to last and the last episode.
Don't
that is
tell
fucking
him any of
yes.
this. Don't
Yeah.
tell him. You want him to be up at like 3 a.m. and watch that last episode and know that now he has to ruin his night. That's the best feeling ever when it's not you.
Anyway, let's go to our phone lines. I guess we've got a random call by landline. Matt, what's going on, Matt?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, Matt. Thanks for calling Final Encountercast, bud.
Yeah. It's first-time caller, and I'll call you in the Final Encountercast. I know it's a little bit late. You guys talked about this during the news, but I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on the reveal of the new Doctor. I'm coming from somebody who was initially against the idea of a female Doctor in the first place. I think I had a good reason for it. Nothing really to do with misogyny, but with how ham-fisted the writing of the show has gotten lately. I mean, it's just, like one of my favorite characters in the show, his name was Captain Jack. You know, he's a pansexual, will fuck anything with a hole.
Yeah.
One of the first scenes you see with him, he's patting a British guy on the ass and openly flirting with him. One of the best characters on the show, in my humble opinion. But like recently, you have characters that are trans species, like interdimensional lesbians or some shit like that, and they're constantly like reminding you of it. It's not really that good of a writing. But even so, you have like a character in the recent season, reincarnation of the Master, became a woman, and she's actually one of my favorite incarnations of the character as well. But it's just, I'm holding out a little bit of hesitation, just because normally when it comes to issues like this, they don't really do it all that well.
So you're afraid that their take on the Doctor as a woman is going to be bad then?
I have reservations. It could be good. I have no doubt that some of it's going to be good. But at the same time, they've also kind of given themselves a free pass to dismiss a lot of criticism, legit or not, faced as misogyny when it may not be. And that, I think that's also a little bit troublesome in my opinion.
I don't know.
If that makes sense.
I don't, but like to say though that like that was the intention behind the casting and to shield themselves from criticism to just by being able to blanketly paint it as misogyny. I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, again, given the way, or at least what I understand of Doctor Who, because I cannot claim to be a fan. I can't even claim to even know about whether or not the writing is ham-fisted lately or not. I honestly...
I can say any episode of Doctor Who I've ever watched. I've watched like 2 episodes, and both of it, the writing was so cheesy and silly, I couldn't get through the whole episode.
But I think that's sort of intrinsic to Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's like
that's the point.
That sort of me always.
I guess.
It sort of me always makes me think of British Star Trek: The Next Generation. Of course, it's over the top, but that's the fun.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know that I totally agree with that assessment. And I think, again, given what I understand about the Doctor and the way that his identity changes and shifts, like there's been 13 of them, and there hasn't been he's never been a woman. Like I think that it does explore some very interesting themes, and I'm going to be interested to see what the new season is going to be able to dive into. I think if you really want to get kind of down in the weeds about it, like some of the writing elements that you're complaining about might have been there to be able to prep the audience for a shift like this, so you don't have people throwing a fucking temper tantrum, which is what, I mean, admittedly, anytime you have a big shift in character and a big fan base, you're going to have that. Yep. I think my favorite version of that was Raiden from Metal Gear Solid, right? Like when they did the Raiden switcheroo for Metal Gear Solid 2, that was one of the most amazing,
it was so jarring.
because nobody expected it, and it was great. But not every series, when they want to make a drastic change like that was clearly Kojima going, I'm gonna fuck with them, because why not? Like whether or not he was actually driven by he wanted the character to appeal to young Japanese girls or not, I don't know if that's a fucking if that's legit. I mean, it's Kojima, so maybe, but it was more driven, like especially the way that the reveal is done, he was definitely trying to fuck with that audience. And because you start out playing Snake.
Right. And
I don't...
all of a sudden you're like, nope.
But not everyone who wants to do a character shift is going to be that bold, daring, or in your face about it. They're not just going to go and say, well, fuck you if you got a problem with it. Other series or other franchises will go out of their way to prep you for things like a character death or a shift in a characterization or something like that, especially if they're trying to continue on a lineage like Doctor Who always does. So there was no way, if they wanted to just have that big of a change, they've got to justify it thematically somehow. So, while it might be problematic and you might be able to write off a lot of that criticism as misogyny and you might be able to use that as a shield, I don't know that the show will actually do that. Will fans of the show? Absolutely, because that's what fans do. That's what people who get into these stupid fucking arguments on message boards and forums and shows like this inevitably end up doing, because that's the nature of fandom. But I think that we should.
Yeah.
But I think we should. I think we should just. My point is I think we should just let the show speak for itself. We've had one day of the casting so far. Like, of course, there's going to be a reaction to it, but I mean, let's let the shit speak for itself.
It's going to be a long 6 months before we actually see this person on screen.
And that's the thing is, like, this is like the part of this that I'm dreading is the whole Ghostbusters-like reaction backlash that is inevitably going to end up coming out of this.
A lot of people are going to lose friends over the next 6 months.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm going to be pre-ordering the Christmas episode because I'm a fan. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to be sad when Capaldi goes. But yeah, I'm not writing off the show out of hand just because of the new casting.
That's good. Nor should you. No, absolutely not.
But I do say I think that there might be some reservations. I think that might be legitimate, just because it might be just because it is so drastic. But coming in with cautious optimism, I guess, would be more appropriate how to explain that.
That's fair. Matt, thanks for calling Final Encountercast. Appreciate it. And if we're going to wrap it up on one point, I guess here's the thing that I would say to Doctor Who fans that really, really have a problem with this casting.
Jump off a bridge.
No, is that
a small one?
With spikes at the bottom of it.
Here's what I would say to you, okay? If you have a real big problem with this casting, it's only temporary, right? Like, the Doctor's identity always changes, and I think, it's only a season or maybe 2 seasons that someone has inhabited it for the longest
it's
time?
going to be like a black trans girl. So.
1 to 3 seasons, generally.
Well, you know what? Just cross your fingers and really just hope for that white male power structure to kick in sometime in the next.
I hope he comes back in a dog.
Can they do that?
Yeah, like Air Bud, but with the Doctor.
Can
Dr. Bud!
Actually,
Can
I don't
Star-Lords
know
be
the lore
dogs?
of Doctor Who if he could come back as an animal rather than a person.
Air Bud was actually just a Time Lord. That's how that movie makes sense.
That's how all 15 of those movies make sense.
Right,
that's the only way. That's the only way that a dog can live that long. Right? Like, any other golden retriever would have died from heartworms.
And do everything that he did. Because once they start to get old,
That wasn't a young fucking dog in the first movie.
That's right.
Right? Like, when did the first Air Bud die?
Oh
Someone
my
needs
God.
to look this up.
Okay.
Chris, look this up right now. When did the first Air Bud die? I want to know how many different
dog
versions
actor?
of Air Bud there have been.
Like the actor.
Yeah. I guarantee you. I
Do you
guarantee
think
you.
that dog has an IMDb
He
credit?
died in 98.
That
98.
okay? All right, yeah. That I'm surprised.
Thanks, Chris.
How many?
I'm
Thank you, Nika.
How many movies did he film before he died?
Let's see.
I wonder if that was a plot line.
Three.
It was through 3.
Yeah, there were 3.
And Full House.
Oh, really?
He was a special
he was the golden.
appearance.
He was
did a
Comet.
He has a special appearance in Full House.
Buddy, that's his real name.
Okay.
He
Well,
does have
Air
an
Bud.
IMDb
That makes sense. What a stretch.
But in the
His name
next
is
2,
Buddy.
he played
Sure.
Fluke and Brandy. He didn't play the same dog in it.
He was in the 1990 hit film Piranha as Brandy.
Yeah, and he did a movie called Fluke as Fluke.
All right.
I bet he was a dog in that one too.
So, I mean, does the third Air Bud deal the plot line? Does it deal with Air Bud dying at all?
Hey, stop right there. Stop right there.
Like, you have the confluence of Air Bud movies and the old Yeller movie at this. It just sort of.
One of his puppies is like the new Air Bud takes
That's
on
right.
the mantle. There
That's
must
right.
always be a Bud.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm trying to look at like sequels and spin-offs.
No, don't look it up because like any Lynchian film, we must leave it on a cliffhanger. They don't get to know.
That's fair.
Yeah, it says there was one.
No,
two,
hey, you
Shut
don't
up,
get to know.
Nika.
Nika, what are you doing?
It's got to be a cliffhanger.
What are you
one will
doing?
ever know.
But I want to know.
Well, you can know. You, just
You
can't
can
say it
know,
out
yeah.
loud.
Go ahead and look it up. I mean, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
They
So
can't
just, but
know.
don't tell them. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to Final Encountercast today. Appreciate it. Stick around. Limit Break Radio is coming up next at 4 p.m.
The answer is 4 dogs.
here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. We're going to be talking about the producer live letter, and then also stick around. Following Limit Break Radio, we'll have the latest episode of Checkpoint Radio. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I am going to be out for the next 2 weeks, so I leave you in the capable hands of my crew. Oh my God, I'm so glad that you don't get a drop board. You have to figure out how to do the show without a drop board.
Dear God.
Yeah. It's an interesting problem, right?
Oh, no, I got it. I'll just play the drops into my microphone.
Oh, I'm sure Nika is going to love this. All right, guys, we're going to turn off some of the electronics and some of the lights in here, so it will hopefully cut down on some of the flickering. But thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. Again, stick around. Limit Break Radio is coming up next, and then following that, we've got the latest episode of Checkpoint Radio, which should wrap up just in time for you to go watch Game of Thrones and or Twin Peaks. I'm not going to judge which comes first. For me, it's Twin Peaks.
What about Checkpoint?
But but Checkpoint will just be getting wrapped up as those shows are going to start. So you guys stick around. We've got tons more of talk coming here to twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. One more thing that I know. I'm so sorry, guys. I know you're dying here.
One more team.
One more thing that I wanted to mention before we take off here. Again, we've got the San Diego Comic-Con giveaway. Make sure that you've liked Check PT Radio on Facebook and Twitter for more information about that. Again, thank you, Kooky, for that. And another thing that I wanted to announce is that fans of Checkpoint Radio that like watching this show live, you're going to be able to watch Checkpoint Radio live coming soon. Now, we've got the channel started. You can go and find it and follow it right now, Checkpoint Radio on Twitch, twitch.tv/Checkpoint Radio. Go ahead, give it a follow. But on Wednesdays, when we sit down and record the show, we're going to be doing some segments live and then maybe the entire show to the point where we're going to be taking calls. So that's going to be something exciting coming to Twitch TV as well as Facebook Live, YouTube, and possibly even what's the other
Mixer?
one? Mixer, yeah. Possibly even a Mixer as well. So we'll have some live options for that show coming soon, which will mean that we will have content, at least something happening, going on containing Limit Break Radio, Final Encountercast, or Checkpoint Radio 7 days a week. 7 days a week. We've got the news podcast that comes out. Okay, so if we want to go over the schedule, right? Monday, Final Encountercast podcast comes out. Tuesday, Limit Break Radio comes out. And on-demand episodes of Checkpoint Radio are posted over at checkpointradio.com. Wednesday, which is currently the blank spot, that's going to be eventually Checkpoint Radio Live, which you can watch over at twitch.tv/Checkpoint Radio. Part of that is getting these fucking lights figured out. And then on Thursday, you guys get the esports gaming update, which is updated through our podcast feed. On Friday, you get the gaming news headlines. On Saturday, you get the Checkpoint Radio podcast. And then on Sunday, we're live again here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. So depending on how you consume, yes, there is a little bit of overlap in content, but depending on how you consume, there is something going on 7 days a week from Limit Break Radio as a production company. So I think that that's a pretty exciting thing and something that I wanted to note. All right, we got to get out of here because it is literally boiling and we've got to be able to cool it down before Limit Break Radio starts. Stay tuned. Again, Limit Break Radio coming up at 4, probably a little bit more like 4:15 at this point, but coming